In this video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what to look for when you are after gold pins. I have found these to be a very lucrative, well, they'd be lucrative if I ever sold them. But let's just say I found it to be a very cheap source of gold because these are very frequently just like lurking in other things. At estate sales, at the thrift shop, there's often like a little tub full of pins or like a tray full of pins. And the thing about them is that there's a lot of them out there, and most of them are obviously trash, but quite a few of them are not trash. And I wanted to show you a few things that you might not suspect that would be gold. The first thing to always look at is quality. So the thing that prompted me to make this particular little video is that I got this pin, which you might recognize if you've been watching my videos. And I grabbed this on a little eBay auction because I thought, boy, that looks awful nice. And I thought in particular that the guard pin here looks like gold. And I thought, well, you know, if you've got a gold guard pin, that's still worth a cheap little eBay auction. And I thought that when you looked at this, that this was engraved, and you can't see any copper underneath the engraving. Now, I'm still not sure what the heck this is. Maybe I should Google image search whatever this is. But for the sake of this video, what I wanted to talk about is the fact that it's completely unmarked. It has no markings on it at all, yet it did come up positive and is a chunk of 14 karat gold. So despite not being marked, whoever had this made or whoever made it for someone else didn't bother to mark it as 14 karat. So I suspect we might find some more information about this pin, and I'll do a little digging here. If anyone happens to recognize it, throw a comment in, tell me what on earth this thing is. But the reason that I picked this out as gold, or reasons that I picked this out as gold, are the build quality. It is a very nice pin. It's very well made. I don't see anything on the edges indicating that there's copper or brass underneath. It has a guard pin, which is a second pin used so that your first pin isn't lost. You pin that on, and you pin that on, and if one of the pins comes out, you still have dangle. You haven't lost your pin. Which is a nice feature. It means that you care about your pin and you care about it not being lost. This piece is hand engraved with the ASC letters. And all of these things led me to take the little gamble on it. It wasn't much of a gamble. I think it was like $10 for the eBay auction, something like that. So, you know, when you weigh these things up, and I forgot to put my scale in here, and I haven't weighed this one yet, but they're generally, you know, like 2 or 3 grams of 10 or 14K. And that's nothing to sniff at. I mean, what gold is tanked, but as of today, it's still like what is it? It was like 86, so like 60 something dollars per gram. You know, one of these pins is easily $100 just at melt. So they're worth taking a little gamble on here and there. And that's what prompted me to go, you know what, I've got a bunch of other stuff here that might be very useful for people to learn about. Because these different pieces have different features that you might not be able to verify are gold without having access to the X-ray machine or XRF machine that I have access to. So I thought, well, let's see about showing you some things that are gold, and you can go from there. Now, I will take this one away, and I'm going to actually put that off into another little baggie I have, because this one is 14. All the rest of this is 10 karat gold. So I'm going to go ahead and toss that over into my 14 pouch, and we'll talk about these other 10 karat pieces. I'm going to start with these ones right here. These are all like sorority or fraternal Greek. They're college related, generally speaking. And I have to figure out what each one of them means. I need to clean my fingernails also. I apologize for that. These are very frequently gold fill or just gold plate, but you know, they have a very, very high chance in my experience of also being solid gold. Now, as you look at these, what I want you to notice is how crisp the edges are and how nicely made they are. If you can develop an eye for quality, that's really what you need for spotting gold. All of these are nicer than anything that you'd find that's gold plated. Now, that doesn't mean they're not gold fill. In this case, I've verified that none of these are gold fill, but none of them are marked. Some of them are easier to spot than others. For example, this one right here is very clearly gold. For anyone who has been doing this for a bit, you can see there's no high edge wear that's worn through to brass. All of the wear, and you can see there's a fair bit of wear and tear on the loop there, is only exposing more gold. You can see how it's a little oblong. It's been on something for a bit. And that's one of the things that I like about old gold pieces, is that they've got wear and tear on them. And an old gold plated piece that has wear and tear will have the brass showing through. An old gold fill piece that has wear and tear will be showing you brass on high edges. Now, this piece is one of the more difficult pieces because you might think that is not solid gold. It sure looks good on the front, but you flip it over and it doesn't. It's a little shiny, but it doesn't have the same. Like, this is just screams gold. That a little less so. It doesn't quite look right, and you'll find that with the 10 karat pieces sometimes. This one actually looks better than some, which I'll show you in a minute, that are actually also 10 karat, but it doesn't scream it immediately. Without having access to an XRF machine, I don't know how you would verify some of the stuff aside from maybe getting test acid, which I think people that don't have access to such a machine will grab. That's not something I personally have experience with, nor would I recommend, because, well, it's acid. Maybe we'll learn about it. Maybe we'll do some videos on it. But even then, I'm not sure if I would ever necessarily recommend people play around with acid. So I'm going to put those aside now that we've talked a little bit about unmarked sorority gold, and then we'll look at, how about this piece next? Now, this is a very good example, also of more or less the same thing. This is a school pin, and you can see a few things that actually lead me to believe that it's gold, and led me to believe it was gold at the time. One of them is you see how thin this is? There's a certain economy here. We are using gold, so we don't want to use too much of it. But the nice thing is, because it's expensive, but the nice thing is because that is so thin, we can see on the high edges here, we can see that there's no brass that's worn through on those fairly fragile edges. Now, the big reason I picked this one out was because that back doesn't look good, and you know what? Boy, doesn't that look like verdigris. Doesn't that look like we've got some brass that's actually degrading under there? And here's the thing. That's not actually verdigris. That is because this pin was on a piece of foam in a box, and that piece of foam has broken down and degraded. And that's what that actually is. That's foam that's stuck to this. And that's very common because a lot of these are in little boxes that have old foam that's degraded, and it sticks to it, and it looks just like it's a piece of brass that's breaking down. This piece is actually marked. It is 10 karat. And the reason that I wanted to show it was because of your fake verdigris there. Just because you see that doesn't necessarily mean that it's brass that's shining through that is actually breaking down and going green. It could be other things. So One of the things you can do with a piece like this is wash it. And I didn't scrub this one intentionally because I wanted to preserve the fact that it looks like it's not real, even though it is. Okay, let's go to another piece here. This piece is for if you are a good typer. Are you a good typer? Awarded Remington typewriter. And if anyone is not familiar with Remington typewriter, that is the same company that made the guns. And this particular pin isn't for good typing. It's because somebody worked for years at Remington typewriter. And back in the day, you would get a gold pin that says, hey, you've been here for a while. And they'd make it out of real gold. Now, the reason that I picked this one out was because, man, that does not look like a good back. And you know what? It's got some markings on it too, but what the heck do they say? And the answer to that is that 0K there is actually 10K. It's just marked so badly. I'm going to see if my magnifying glass is going to work on this. Hey, look at that. It's not showing anything any better for us, but it is bigger. So one of the things is that sometimes you'll find this where there's markings that are just like almost indecipherable, and it is still a 10 karat pin. And that's where you want to learn about other things, like look at the edges, look for brass that's coming through. Any high edge wear, you'll see brass coming through on gold fill. And pieces like this definitely go under the radar. This is the kind of thing that you can find in an antique shop in a pin bin because it doesn't look like much, because it's dirty. And the gold really isn't showing up as nicely as it would if I polished this or just maybe gave it a scrub in the sink. It would look nicer and nicer the more I actually cleaned it up. So these dirty old pins can be, sorry, dad pun, they can be a real gold mine for you. That's why we're going to continue through on these. I'll show some other weird things. I wanted to show this one. And the reason I wanted to show this one is because it has two things going on. We have that same verdigris issue compounded. Because in this case, it says, as you can see, 10 karat, because it is a 10 karat pin. However, it was in one of those little cases with the foam. So you've got that green foam on there mixed with verdigris, because the pin, this piece right here, is brass. So it's brass on 10 karat. And if you wanted to actually get a real weight on this, you would break this brass piece off and clean it up a little bit, and then you'd have just your 10 karat. So this was a very good example of something that you pick it up and go, that's garbage. But wait a minute, it's not garbage. At first you're thinking, man, that looks good. And then, man, that looks bad. Oh, wait, it's not bad. And this is why you always need to pick everything up and, really scrutinize. Okay, these three pieces are interesting in that they are all like school pieces. Like this is I think Roosevelt High School. What's this one? Not sure what high school this is. JL High School, whatever L stood for. And this one is Central High something HCH. So something Central High. 1925. This one, let's see, what's this one? 1932, and I don't think this one has a date on it, does it? Oh, it does. 1935. Okay, now when you are looking at these, old is good. So as you can see, all three of these are old, and they are high school pins. So keep in mind, this was just something that people were using to commemorate high school. Now, all three of these are 10 karat, and they're not just 10 karat on sterling. All three of these are layers of 10 karat. But what I want to show you on these is that, man, that looks toned. man, that looks tarnished. But you might say, hey, gold doesn't tarnish. So how can this be 10 karat gold as it claims, but be tarnished? And the reason is it's 10 karat white gold, and 10 karat is low enough that it can tarnish, especially if it's been in like a hot tub, for example. And you will find that with like rings or necklaces that are 10 karat. They are 10 karat gold, but they've been used in a hot tub, and man, that makes them go black. They tarnish because they've got a very high copper content in them. So all three of these pieces are 10 karat. Now, I don't know if they're all marked. I think this one is not actually marked right here, but it is verified 10 karat on the XRF machine. Yeah, I don't see any marking there. I believe this one is the same. Yeah. Although this one looks dang good. That shine is very, very nice. If you see that shine on something, and how to explain it, and you see how it has all those fine scratches on it, that's good. If it has kind of a bumpy texture, that's bad. The bumpy texture indicates that it's plated, but those little fine scratches not showing up anything else and still being shiny, that's a very good sign for what you're looking for. So if you're looking at like these high school pins, old is good, shiny is good, but keep in mind a lot of them are also dirty as heck, so you won't necessarily know if they're good. Now, the other thing too to note about these is that odds are you're not going to be paying much for them. Please keep in mind what I'm trying to do here is actually show you how I pay basically nothing for these. And then if it turns out to be not gold, whatever. It just goes into a bin of cool old pins. But if it is gold, jackpot. All right. Now, the final section for this video is these right here. Now, I bought all these at the same time. And the reason that I purchased these, and these are Fraternal Order of the Eagles, and the reason that I purchased these was because they looked really good. And I figured, they're probably gold fill. Probably. But I also suspected they might be a little bit better than gold fill because all of them have subject matter that led me to believe somebody really cared about what's going on here. For example, past Madam President. The gavel you see here indicates somebody was in charge. Mother. These are all unusually nice things. They're all unusually well made, and they all clearly mattered to someone quite a lot. Now, that's why it kind of hurt me when these came up on the Magic machine, the XRF machine, as 10 karat. And I, if I'm honest in my heart of hearts, didn't believe that I had paid $9 for a gigantic pile of 10 karat. And I suspected that they were just a very, very thick gold fill because not a one of these is marked. They are all, if we look at the backs, blank. And I thought, well, boy, they're probably gold fill. So I did a rude thing and I chopped one. I took the one that seemed to matter the least and I chopped it in half. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to see what was in the center. And if you look here, it is one solid piece all the way through, same material. And what that tells us is that these are indeed 10 karat all the way through, even though not a one of them is marked as such. You can see sometimes on these, like the guard pins will be marked, but not here. I think maybe these were made by a local jeweler. Yeah, so after you've been doing this for a bit, or if you feel like you have a really good handle on what quality means, trust your gut, because especially if you're not paying much for these, you can really score sometimes and end up with a very large amount of gold for a very small amount of money. And gold is so high that even these little pins are pretty valuable at this point. If any of you stackers out there wants to know how much this weighs, just let me know in the comments and I can do a quick follow-up video once I figure out where I set my scale for you. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. If you go out and you use this information to find yourself some gold pins, please let me know. I would love to find out if other people are finding these elsewhere in the country. And if you think this information's valuable and you'd like more, just let me know. And I will keep trying to produce these. And hopefully the channel can grow and I can get some money from it so that I can keep buying this stuff. That's kind of the goal right now, and I'm not afraid to tell you that. So I hope you're having a great day.